on. So making sure that you have the right people and the talent that you're attracting as you grow, and having that organization is important.
Partha, I'm excited to continue our conversation. Your journey, you've been in the cybersecurity world for, you said, 22 years. Imagine there's a lot of insight and knowledge, and as leading several of these different organizations you've been in, and now being CEO of Cysiv, I would love to start off, like, what was this journey been like, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been absolutely fascinating, and I like to think I've been very blessed and lucky along the way. I started pretty early in the cybersecurity business, late 90s, and that's when cybersecurity was not even called cybersecurity. So we didn't even have a name. We used to call ourselves information security, all kinds of different names. And those were early days, fun days. We learned a lot. I was very lucky to be part of a disruptive company at the time, my first startup company called Commerce. And we learned so much. For me, that was my first brush with kind of the disruption cycle, VC-backed disruption cycle, right? And being able to solve a big problem, very focused, and helping our customers. So fantastic experience for everybody involved, absolutely myself. And then we sold the company at peak to another large cybersecurity company, a public company called Entrust Technologies. So I kind of went from early web-based single sign-on to a company which had products on the enterprise, on the desktop, and encryption, kind of a very different world, right? From web to more desktop encryption kind of world, and fascinating for me. I picked up so much. I learned so much about the technologies, go-to-market, and where, honestly, cybersecurity was heading. Now, the investments were coming in, a lot more companies were getting creative. And after Entrust, I joined another startup called Third Brigade out of Ottawa, founded by executives out of Entrust, very close friends and mentors over the years. Again, Third Brigade, we built some fantastic technology. We were a server security company, and the concept was to create a self-defending server. So have a piece of software providing security on the servers, and it was able to adapt automatically based on the changing footprint on the server. So as we were building that company, a couple of very interesting events happened in our industry. Virtualization took off, headed by VMware, right? So they took off in a big way. And thankfully for us, hindsight 2020 always, right? But at the time, as you can imagine, you're a startup, you're a small company, you have limited amount of resources and very limited amount of dollars to invest. But at the time, we decided to go all in on VMware. And we created a new technology called agentless security, brought to the market. And that technology took off. We were early, we were the first, we were innovators, and it was a fantastic run. We went from a few customers to over 2,000 customers in 24 months, and then eventually 10,000 customers from that relationship. So fascinating journey. And then right as that was winding up, cloud happened with Amazon and AWS. And again, we spotted that trend early. Hindsight 2020, we decided to kind of go all in on a cloud. And that was the start of my personal and my co-founders' association with cloud. It was very early. I want to say maybe 2009 timeframe, right? It's been 11 years, and cloud was early back then, but it gave us an opportunity to kind of grow with the cloud. We were early co-designing with AWS and then eventually with the Microsoft Azure as well. And we co-designed how security tools can be provisioned to customers in an effective way. And that journey was priceless. We sold Third Brigade. We got acquired by Trend Micro, a large cybersecurity company this time, one of the largest in the world, in 2009. And just been a fascinating journey all along, right? I've had like I said, the pleasure and the honor of working with some really talented individuals. I've had some fantastic mentors all the way from my first startup all the way to now, and just been a great experience. What I think the biggest change for me is I've had so many different roles. I often look back and laugh on how many things I have put my hands in, right? I started on the technology side, engineer by by education. Then I ended up doing my MBA, but I went from technology to business to running biz dev and strategic alliances, running corporate strategy and M&A, launching a venture capital fund, being a founding partner of a venture capital fund, and then eventually co-founding and launching Cysiv. It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope I don't wake up ever.
I love also your mention several times of 2020 hindsight. You're like, oh yeah, that was a brilliant move, but at the time, you're always making a decisive risk, a calculated risk to move into, and then later you find out. Tell me, I'd love to dig into over these years in your different roles in both in business development and now leading a new entire new endeavor. What kind of tactics and did you implement that have helped it grow from early on, getting those few customers to go beyond that? What were some tactics that you found that have worked well that another business leader could learn from?
Absolutely. I think from day one, I've always believed in the importance of culture in the company, a culture which is very inclusive, a culture which is customer centric. For us, that's really important. Everything we built, and I think it started early for us in Cysiv. Day one of co-designing this platform, we always work with the large customers and partners to get the input. So we are a very customer centric organization, and we have a culture where the decision making is decentralized. There is power in everyone's hands, and driving innovation. But more importantly, putting yourself in the customer's shoes is always the most important thing you can do in the company, right? And I have seen that work magic over the years. Just making sure that when you're working that hard and that fast, often there is a risk of misalignment or getting off the track. Or even conflicts internal, because everybody's trying to work very hard, right? We're building a massive company and we're innovating and we're disrupting on many different fronts, and it's easy to get carried away in one over the other. And our discussions inside the companies always take it a step back and put yourself in your customer's shoes and see how this discussion is going to add value or not to the customer. And then let's have a conversation. That's so important, Alexander, because that is the essence and key to building a successful company, in my humble opinion. The more customer-centric we are, making sure that we are constantly adding value to our customers, I think we can build, and we are building, a fantastic company.
Focus and focusing on the customer, both of them, not getting too excited about where it could go, and being focused on what the customer needs. Digging into a little bit deeper of when you had maybe a handful of customers and started to scale, but if you want to choose at Third Brigade or beyond, what did you find that worked to truly scale up from just, let me just have a couple conversations to, wow, it actually is taking off. It seems to be growing faster. What tactic did you use that you found worked well?
Yeah, a few things. So having an organization that can support that scale is important. So as you go from building a product, doing some initial testing, to testing product market fit, to scale international, like it's a journey for us, like any other company. And having an organization that is constantly getting tuned to that scale is important. And realizing that you need a certain set of muscles in every stage. A muscle that works in the first 100 meters, you need to augment that muscle with something else, right? As you go from the 100 meters to the next mile, and then eventually running the marathon. So making sure that you have the right people and the talent that you're attracting as you grow, and having that organization is important. So that's the first part. Always, it's about the people. We are in the business of people, having and attracting the right talent and motivating and making sure that we are all working this together is important. The second piece is an effective go-to-market, and making sure that you have a combination of different go-to-market strategy. You will have to work directly with your customers, because that's where you get to learn the most. It's not, when you think about scale, the first step in that scaling is learning and making sure that you're in tune with the market and what the customers are expecting. So working directly with some customers is important. Then obviously there is fantastic set of partners that you have to build your business around. Channel partners who can help you scale, SIs, MSSPs who can take your technology and make it better and bigger for your customers. That's important too. So having that strategy around channel. I had the luxury of running global channel at Trend Micro, and I've seen the power of how effectively we can work with partners who to fan out globally. And the third bit is I feel association with big brands and sensing some wave and creating magic together. I use the example of cloud platform that we have done in the past, and we continue to do it with Cysiv. Here we have a strategic relationship with Google, a large cloud platform provider, where we are imagining things together, imagining the future together, right? Both on the technology side, as well as how we take the market to product together, right? That's the important piece. Fighting the battle alone is one part of it, but making sure that you have the right allies at different levels is important. So ally like Google or Trend Micro, our parent company, is important because we can go and work with them together to imagine the future, build it together, and then take it to market together, because we are helping our joint customers. And again, back to my comment on being customer-centric, it's all about the customers. And if we work together with some of these large partners, we learn a lot, and we also have a lot of access. We have a lot of access to their customers, their problems, and being able to help them is fantastic.
Hearing those three things, first being really close to the customer at the beginning and understanding truly their pain point, the value of channel partners to accelerate and beyond, and then connecting with a larger brand, a big name, and partnering with them can also help you grow. Diving into each of these three real quick, the first one, how do you know when you're at the tipping point of, all right, you're very close to the customer, you're talking to them all the time, and you've done that enough? How do you know when you've done it enough where you're like, all right, I'm starting to hear the same things over and over again, and now it's time to go from just working with these few customers as close as we can to scaling more and replicating or scale? How do you know at that turning point happens?
Yeah, and it's a really good question, Alexander. You will get all the signals from the market. Like you'll pick it up, because you never stop talking directly to the customers. You're always talking directly to the customers because their needs are evolving as well. For us to continue to be disruptive and making sure that somebody else does not disrupt us in 3-5 years from now, we have to always be talking to customers. So that part will continue to play a role. But then you start to see the need to reach the greater community, and you will see signals of partners. Obviously, developing partners, it's a two-way street, right? Some cases, partners will come to you with some opportunities because they've heard your name, they've heard your brand, and they've seen you at one of their customers, and that's how they come to us. But at the same time, investing in our partners and training them and educating them and taking them along the way. It's a two-way street, right? It's an investment that we make.
That channel partner, digging into, I'd love to a little bit more, like how have you found, because you spent several years then I'll be focusing on channel partners, any tactics there, insights that you said, oh, wow, this actually worked really well to build that channel partner relationships or growth?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think investment is important. Investment from both sides, and that's the piece that you have to assess fairly quickly. When you're a small company, obviously it's hard to get a mind share, but thankfully we have the relationships, and channel partners or MSSPs or SIs are looking out for new disruptive technology. So it is a two-way street. So you investing in them in terms of training and education and making sure that they see how you fit, educate them on the success stories that we've had so far. How did we win those customers, and doing that. But in turn, also expecting the partners to invest their time and resources in learning the technology and being serious about this business. And it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. The smaller you are, the larger the time it takes. But there is gold to be had at the end of the tunnel for both, right? And I think it's that two-way investment, which is really important. Education, training, making sure that they have a voice even in your product roadmap. The right partners will actually bring a lot of inputs to make our platform better. And we appreciate and encourage that. So it's all around investment on both sides. And you should be able to assess who's the right partner and who's not.
For this journey that you're on now with Cysiv, obviously you're starting again in some ways, the journey that you've been on. So you're probably seeing some reoccurring themes. Tell me, like, how right now, where you are with the team, the growth, what are the current challenges that you're working on, or a recent one you've overcome that you can share of maybe an accomplishment? Yes, you're able to get over this that someone else might be going through right now.
Yeah, but we are in a fantastic stage of our life cycle. I'm honored to be leading what I think is the finest team in the cybersecurity business today. So this team is the best out there, and we are constantly, like I said, we are very customer centric, trying to figure out how to make it easier and better. And the immediate challenge that we have in our hands right now is scale. Like, we are going from a very decent run rate business to now a much bigger business. We're right in the middle of that shift, which is pretty big and rapid and aggressive for us, which is fantastic. And as we go on that journey, we have to realize that we have to adapt. What worked before may not work now, right? In the past, we could have all hands on deck on one customer and make sure that they're successful. Now it's hard, right? We have so many, so we have to make sure that we divide the time. But that's where the importance of having a proper process. How do we onboard a customer, right? Having a well-defined process where we can walk them through A to Z, and making sure that we have thought of all the scenarios are areas that we are working through. So one of the recent, you asked about a recent example, one of our recent challenges has been, we have all this data being thrown at us from our customers. And in the past, we could go, oh, no problem, we'll go in and figure it out and do it. Now we have all this data from all these customers being thrown at us, right? So we now have to come up with a model where we prioritize. This whole SOC maturity journey is fantastic. We sit down with our customers and kind of walk them through and say, we can't boil the ocean together. We can do it in 3, 6 months, 9 months, however long it takes, but let's figure out what are the low-hanging fruits and making sure that we're building up a case. And our team has come up with a fantastic process of engaging early with our customers and defining that plan, which anybody in the organization can execute, right? So that planning and putting together and centralized tracking has been fantastic. And I love seeing how the team kind of stood up to the challenge and came up with this on their own. And now we can run multiple proof of concepts and have multiple customers onboarded at the same time, no issues.
Appreciate that concept of scale. When you get to just the first few clients, everyone can be working on it. There's no problem there. But as you grow, instituting a onboarding process and a prioritization element sounds paramount. How big is the team now? I know you distributed across several locations.
We are roughly a little north of 130 people distributed between US, Canada, and the Middle East. And now this quarter, setting up operations in India.
Very cool. Going forward, obviously, there'll be new challenges. I imagine in this world of COVID, it doesn't affect you at all because everything is already online. And are you finding actually, though, it's more customers are needing this type of solution in this type of environment, that they're like, they want a managed service? I think you mentioned this in our previous conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So customers are having this conversation on a daily basis. CIOs and CISOs are increasingly asking the question on how can I disruption-proof my SOC? Do I have the proper components and the process and the people in place who can do that? And we have seen a heightened level of interest in the technology, in the service that we have built, right? We are as a service company, and we have seen that uptick in interest. Everybody is very interested in learning more. The concept of democratizing threat hunting and SIM for customers is very appealing. These were technologies and areas which were not accessible before, even to large companies, irrespective of the size, right? And the fact that we can make this available at a monthly consumption price is fantastic for them. So we have definitely seen a lean in and more interest in this space.
For you as a leader, what books, audiobooks, podcasts, blogs, articles, where do you go and have gone to gain insight and would open to sharing?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I have. I'm a big books reader. I love reading books. I listen to podcasts all the time, and I try and split my time between technology-related articles and then some leadership, company building books as well. And I just go through books whenever I can. Before I was able to travel, I could read on the plane, right? That was my time to decompress and read, and I really enjoy that. I call this me and my book time. But now with no travel, it's a little bit harder. You're always working, and if you're not, then you have your family kind of hovering around you. So it's an interesting balance. So my reading has gone down a little bit, but I try and drive a mix between kind of technology, keeping up with what's new, what's latest, and what's the future. And then some organization building books, right? Making sure that as we scale, I'm learning from the experiences of others.
Any recent ones that you can say that you're like, well, I really like this one and could recommend?
I reread this book. There's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. It's an old book. And interestingly, it's in my library. I happened to just stare at it one day and I said, you know what, I gotta reread this. It's been a little while. Big fan of that book. And I found a lot of what has been discussed in the book is what we are living through. So I almost take consolation from the fact that others have gone through this book before. And right before that, I reread another book, which is interesting because there's so many new books to read and I'm going back and rereading books. There was a book called Escape Velocity. And I kind of reread both these books back to back, and I love them because they absolutely, I see myself and Cysiv and our company and our team in those books.
What kind of technology innovations do you predict we'll see in the near term, the next year or so, and the long term, next 5-10 years?
More data science and automation. I honestly think that we are just scratching the surface when it comes to AI and data science and application of these technologies in the cybersecurity business and data in general. I think we'll see a lot more. And I'm just going to try and keep my crystal ball prediction to cybersecurity because that's the business I understand the most. I see consolidation happening. So, customers asking for do more with less, kind of, give me a solution which covers multiple areas. So there'll be some consolidation happening, which we have seen in the past. We've seen that. I see this concept of SaaS evolving. That I think is going to be a biggest disruption. In the past, software as a service was purely software. I think the future is software as a service is going to be backed by experts, right? Experts who can help customers leverage. Even though it's a service, they need to be fully utilized and configured and work properly. And most SaaS companies end up having their customers spend millions of dollars in configuring it right and so on. And we feel that evolution happening where there are experts behind a SaaS service. So these are kind of the high-level areas. There's a lot of interest around, if you're interested, zero trust, both network, identity, users. So there is a lot of movement there. So we'll see some progress on that front as well. So lots of exciting stuff on the go.
Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.